Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Brain 202 Bold Choices and Evolving Thought Structures. My name is Shelley Hayduck, and I'm co hosting today with Matt Caton, our Director of Customer Solution.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today. We've got a really great webinar, and we're really jumping into some of the more advanced features of the application today. So we're starting out assuming that you've taken a Brain 101 class that we have every Friday. You know the basics on creating thoughts, adding content and attachments. Your brain has grown and evolved a little bit, and now it's time to go in and start sprucing things up a little, maybe making a couple of changes and deciding how you're going to move forward and advance with the application. So we'll be covering some specialty features to share with you today to help you make those next steps.
Yeah, that's right. And because it's a 202, it's class style. So as always, we are going to have a very active Q&A, and I'll introduce a lot of you might already know Chase, one of our technical support analysts. He is also on the line. He will be answering your chats. So you are muted due to the volume of attendees. But that being said, we absolutely want your feedback and your questions. So just go ahead, and there is a Q&A panel. Feel free to type in any comments, any questions. Because this is a 202 class, we are going to reserve a good 15 to 20 minutes for maybe a brain that you might be struggling with, or any features you maybe want to see again or didn't see. So feel free to get those questions in, and we'll try to get to as many of them as possible. And with that, I am going to get started. So the whole idea and premise behind the brain software is, of course, to organize information the way you think about it. So clicking on any piece of information in the brain triggers all related pieces of items. And I'm just in my teaching and learning brain, and I thought this brain might be a good one to start off with for talking a little bit about thought structure. So in order to evolve our thought structure, I'm going to spend just a little bit of time going over exactly how we can structure information in the brain and the many, many different possibilities that you have. So we're not going to get too much into the basics, but just to level set, in case there are some newbies on this class, which I'm sure there are, your information is always going to be displayed relative to your central thought, your active thought. And anything above that thought is apparent. Anything below is a subcategory or child of that thought. So we can do a lot of interesting things with the parent-child relationship here in the brain. Now, sometimes we create too many categories in a brain, and sometimes we don't have quite enough. So as a brain grows and evolves, we can make changes to things. So for instance, in this case, I'm looking at my physics section. I'm looking at something called radioactive decay. Now, maybe this doesn't belong under physics. Maybe it's more under chemistry. So what I can do is simply just drag a link and start typing. One of the great things about the brain is, especially for those of you who are on the class today with large brains, is it's going to show you anything you have. So I'm thinking this is chemistry. So I'm going to make this connection to chemistry, and I've just made a link. Now, one of the great things about the brain, in this case, reactive decay does actually functions under both categories, which is really cool. And that's the advantage of the brain, is that we can have one piece of information located under multiple categories. But in this case, just to show you, if for some reason I want to keep my physics area clean, I can actually click on this link, right click, and select to unlink. So if I want to change the way that is, I've essentially moved that piece of information. And let me just change the view right here so you can kind of see that it's actually linking to a page on the Wikipedia. And that's sort of one way, what we call gardening, sort of the most basic way of evolving and maintaining a brain is looking at content and deciding, where things might need to move. The other thing that might need to happen, just going to go back to my physics area, is that maybe I'm a teacher and this particular thought on, wave particle duality is way above the heads of my class or my user groups. So I can simply right click on that thought and go ahead and forget it. Now the brain offers a two-tiered option. So I can right click and forget it, and that goes into my, it's basically like our recycle box, and Matt will go ahead and show you a little bit more on forgotten thoughts, but now it's gone. So part of this is I can look at information and decide, I may not want everything to be displayed, so I can move things. I can actually go ahead and also delete things, and I can create new categories. So maybe teachers convention is coming up, and I want to create my 2021 fall lesson plan. Now, and of course, I can go in and let's just say I'm gonna start with a lecture on our brave new world. Okay, so just to kind of, obviously I can create my own thought, and if this involves me kind of typing up a lesson plan, I can actually go in here, and if I want to link to a document or anything here, so I can actually attach various documents or add links and so forth. But in this case, I'm actually going to go ahead and do a web search. So I'm just going to go online to options and search the web. And I'm just going to get some news items. Okay, and there's an interesting article from the BBC. So of course I can drag and drop information into this brain and grow it. But in this case, because we're talking about evolving thought structures, what I actually want to do for my fall lesson plan is I want to grab things that I have throughout my brain and build a section on existing thoughts. So you'll notice that I have 4 thoughts at the top of my screen called pins. So whenever I'm trying to grow a brain and evolve a section in my brain, I like to create a pin. So I'm going to go ahead and create this pin. And now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go somewhat thought shopping and go to different areas of my brain. And so there's a section on the nervous system. And I might want to actually have neuroscience. So I'm going to hold down the control key and actually select that. And that brings up my selection box. So now what I'm actually doing is I'm kind of browsing throughout my brain. And of course I can use the search, but I'm literally doing this just to kind of show you guys. So if there's anything here, and let me grab this particular thought. And I'm just grabbing different thoughts that I actually want to include in my fall lesson plan. So I can actually do the search. So if I want to go into, for instance, US presidents, get into social studies or anything like this, maybe I'm going to be talking about John F. Kennedy. I can control click on him as well. And so you can see I'm just grabbing a wide range of different thoughts in my brain. And maybe I'm going to cover the Age of Enlightenment. So I'm going to go ahead and control click that as well. So I've grabbed about 4 different thoughts that were pretty much scattered throughout this brain. And these are just all things that I think are really important to highlight in my lesson plan. So I'm going to come back to this area, and I've got these selected thoughts. And now what I'm going to do is right click, and I can select to link as children. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And now you can see as I've actually kind of changed things, I've got these thoughts now in a new area in my particular brain. And I can further evolve this area by creating different thought types as well. So if I right click on a thought and want to set a particular type, maybe this is going to be a good resource, or I've got in this particular brain, because it's about formal classifications, I've got a lot on science and so forth. So let me just go ahead and tag this as a new good resource. And so now I've got that typed, and you can see how things can really evolve and grow. And then the other thing that's kind of interesting is sometimes we might decide in a brain that we actually have too many intervening categories. So for instance, if I have a particular thought, maybe physics and chemistry, maybe these 2 categories are artificial, and I actually want to have more thoughts at the top of this section. So I can actually control click on the gate of a thought, So I just holding down control and clicking on that gate. And what that does is it's actually bringing up, it's mass selecting all my thoughts under physics. So in this case, I've decided I want to sunset my physics category for whatever reason. Maybe I'm not teaching physics. Maybe I'm moving more into chemistry and biology, but I still think I'm going to throw in some of the physics concepts into my general science class, but I don't need this specialized category. There's only 7 thoughts here. So what I'm going to do in this case is actually move these thoughts under science. So there's a couple ways I can do it. First of all, if I wanted to, I could just drag up and move it like that and drop it. So that's one way to do it. But because I have so many thoughts, what I can do again is I'm just going to click back to science, and I'm going to select to link as now. If I wanted to put these as jumps, I could do that. I could select jumps, parents, children. So you can see you've got all your different relationship options when you're mass selecting thoughts. So just, so you guys can see, let's say I do make a mistake or whatever, and oh my goodness, I put all these thoughts as jumps, which might be cool because they might just be tangential lectures that I want to do. But no, that doesn't look right. They really belong under science. So again, I'm right clicking on my selection box again, and I'm going to link as children under science. But wait a minute, I said that I don't want them under physics anymore. Physics is going to be a new lessons plan. So what I can do here now is I can activate physics, and I can come back to this group of selected thoughts, and I can select to unlink the selection. So now I've decided I don't want them under physics. So you might have stuff linked. In essence, I'm moving thoughts. So this is just a way to batch move thoughts. So as you're evolving your structure, you're going to want to move things back and forth. And so I'm going to unlink it. So now you can see physics has nothing. Physics is, no longer there. And, as far as that, I can look at that, and I'm done with the selection box. I don't want them. And I might also decide just to forget physics. And there it's gone. Now, at any time if this gets too busy and I want to actually create a different category, I can further subdivide. So sometimes we have too many categories in our brain, and sometimes we don't have enough. So in this case, I wanted a little bit more of a dense view to engage my audience when they came into science. So boom, I've decided to put these things right at the top. If I get feedback from the group, I don't like this is too much information, I need to change this, well, that's pretty easy too. I'll just reverse everything I've done, and I'm sorry if this is a little bit redundant, but I really want you guys to get comfortable with the idea of moving thoughts around. A lot of people create a brain structure and think, wow, it's done, I can't change it. But these things are very malleable, and as you grow and evolve your structure, it's really important for you to get comfortable with experimenting and moving things. So I'm just going to call this advanced physics topics. Okay, and create this new thought. And the other thing that you might want to do as you're evolving your brain and growing it is, of course, click on it. And it's always nice to give it a nice icon too, just to give things, to spruce things up a bit. Oops, I don't want Joe Biden as my icon. That's my last image. I just added him to our US president section. We can go there, and that's also a very cool area. But for now, let me go and select a stock icon that actually looks like physics. So we can do searches, or I can actually go into, let's see, energy and environment. I'm going to grab this cool looking globe, and there's my advanced physics icon. It's looking very cool in tech. And now what I can do is I can drag these guys back under advanced. So oops, I didn't like what I did. I'm changing it again. Oh well, this is really difficult, as you can see. Here I go. So I'm just dragging these guys back under advanced physics topics, and I'm cleaning up what I thought I liked but didn't. And you can see there I go. So as it's turned out, I've decided to evolve the structure by not putting everything under science, but really just changing the topic to advanced physics. So that's kind of just an idea of how you can, evolve and change things. The other way to do that is by tagging and typing. So I mentioned Joe Biden popped up. So let's go to the US president section. And the other thing that I want to show you is how, and Matt's going to dive more into this, but I'm really, what I want to do is kind of give you guys real world examples of how you might use some of these features. Is obviously we've had a lot of presidents. Our country's been around for a while. They belong to various political parties and so forth. That's a lot of information to convey. So rather than just putting two thoughts, Democrat, Republican, and then there was even a Federalist Party at one time, we decided that we want to do a couple things here. First of all, we wanted to do some chronological ordering, which is kind of cool. And that's something that you can think about in evolving your thought structure. So each president is numbered. And the reason they're appearing in the order that they're numbered is because we have this great little feature, arrange thoughts by. Now, arrange thoughts by name is if you actually numerate your thoughts, you can get this wonderful chronological pattern, which is great if you want to show any sort of temporal order in your thoughts, or just want to have them appear in a certain order. And the other thing that's also really cool that I love, especially if I'm looking at, for instance, my finances and things like that, and you have various types, is organized by type. So I'm just going to change this because I have all these presidents typed based on their political party. And so now you can see what's happening here is the Democrats are in blue, are appearing first as their type, and then you've got the Federalists, and then you've got the Republicans here. So you can see that there's many ways, if you do have your types, to look at this. Now, this is a lot of information. This is 47 thoughts, and 47 thoughts in general isn't something that I'd really recommend to use. I wouldn't recommend having 47 child thoughts and then diving deeper. But in this case, you know what? Every president has contributed to our country in their own unique way. So they all get their own thought under presidents. But because I'm using thought types, there is a visual classification that is readily perceived by you, by your own eye and your user community's eye. So this is another way to do it. So we can categorize our information by parent-child, by the connections we make, but we can also do it by the thought types and by the tags. And the other thing that I love in terms of evolving your brain is also the icons. So these are all zoomable icons. And as we all know, a picture says 1,000 words. Sorry, I just have to go back to that chronological layout, arrange thoughts by. So I'm going to go back to name here. And, you know, I just added this new picture because I hadn't been in this brain in a while, Joe Biden. So here we go. And, you know, I can look at, you know, Rutherford or Calvin Coolidge. And so it's very easy to go ahead and, you know, update a picture. So let's go back to JFK. Try to pick a president that is mostly popular for most people. So I can go, you know, online and options search web. I love that search web feature. And I'm just gonna throw out a search and maybe grab a new picture for JFK. And this one's kind of cool. So let me just copy this image. And I've got this one, but I can just come back to my thought and paste as an icon. That's how you get those nice zoomable icons. So now, rather than the portrait, I actually have a face of the president smiling. So these are just things that you can do to evolve. You'll also notice that I've got some interesting wallpaper in the background. This is something that I highly recommend. You know, and you can have some fun with it. In my personal brain with my family, I have a picture of like a giant lioness, just to kind of show, you know, I'm the protector of my family. In this case, the earth is kind of signifying the gravitas of the information. So you're also going to want to play with wallpaper and the visuals as you evolve your brain and kind of take it to the next level. Now, there's a couple other interesting ways to organize thoughts that we've done in this brain, and also the humans in space, that I want to show you before I pass the presenter over to Matt. So let me go into the history section really quick, and I'm going to look at the industrial. Actually, I'm just going to jump over to, actually, I think I have it in World War II. Okay, So let's go to that thought. So the parent-child relationship can also be used as a timeline chronology if you are into visual storytelling. That's also something a little bit more cutting edge that maybe a lot of you haven't thought of, and to show causality between events. So for instance, in this particular brain, we've got World War II. So I've got the 1939 invasion of Poland. Unfortunately, that happened. And what did that do? It led to the world basically being divided into the allies of World War II and the Axis powers. So in this case, you know, these things may not naturally fit under as subcategories, and they kind of do, but the reason I'm doing this here is to tell a story. So for instance, it was after this, it was the attack on Pearl Harbor that unfortunately was a predisposing factor, and this is getting into link types and causality that leads to the United States of entering World War II. And then of course there were some things that, you know, obviously were not, you know, not amazing in the war, and I have links to that. And then of course eventually that led to D-Day, which was the invasion of Normandy, and the Allies' victory, which then uh, yielded United Nations and all kinds of things. So this is kind of another way to look at things, and to think about thought types if you're doing more research-oriented information. We've also done that in the humans and space brain. That one was presented actually by Jay. We did a webinar on this. This is also on our site. And of course, this brain, I'm just going to backtrack a bit and go to the top to give you some content. This is all about innovation in space, and we've got all kinds of wonderful things and space technology. But we thought it was also cool in this case to use the parent-child relationship to show timeline. So here we go. In 1957, we had Sputnik 1, Sputnik 2, and in this case, Jay's done things a little bit differently. See, I like to put the stuff that happens under. In this case, he's putting it as jumps, and that's kind of fine too, because he wants to keep the chronological timeline moving as parent-child. So here he's got things coming in as a jump based on the launch year. And again, these are I'm kind of going at this a little bit higher level. So if this is like, wow, how do we set all this up? Matt is going to dig more into the details of setting up thought types, tags, and organizing by tag, type, and link. But I really wanted to kind of just show you guys just some different examples. I know we're used to my business, my child thoughts, and then links and connections, but there are some really creative things that you can do with these types of links. And I think with that, because I know we're going to have lots of questions and so forth, I'm going to hand things over to you, Matt. But before I do, was there anything that I need to cover in my examples that popped up in the Q&A, or?
I don't think so. I mean, a
Okay,
lot of questions are coming in. We'll get to
okay,
a solid QA at the end. A couple of answers to questions. Yes, we're going to make some of these brains available for you to download. We'll share links. A lot of the
absolutely.
brains you've seen
Yep.
are publicly
Mhm.
available brains that you can import or open, and I'll be sharing that process with
Yeah.
you here in just a
Actually,
moment. So,
literally,
yeah,
this brain, my education and teaching, they're all public brains. So yeah, I want you to have all my examples. Go to town
great.
on them. And yes,
Yeah,
Matt, you'll definitely have to show how to copy and paste, because you may not want everything in these brains,
great. So
and that's
I'm going to
cool.
make
Okay,
myself the
change
presenter
presenter.
and
Okay,
stand by. All right. So I have a brain open right now that has become a bit unruly. Now, this particular brain that I'm sharing is a brain that you can download, and I'll share the link to that at the end of the demo today. So this is a sample brain that you can download, and I've messed it up a little bit on purpose just to share with you a couple of really, really quick features that you can utilize to start cleaning up areas of your brain. Now that you've started using the brain, you've created hundreds or even thousands of thoughts. From time to time, it happens to all of us. You know, you just drop information in a particular area. In this area, it's my personal life. Well, everything in this brain is related to me in some way. But of course, I don't want 5,000 thoughts all linked to personal life. That would be a little bit hard to navigate through. And therefore, I want to clean things up a little. Now, in this case, they're not 5,000 thoughts. I've got maybe, I don't know, 40 or 50 child thoughts here. let's start cleaning things up so I can really quickly access what I want. Now, of course, a very easy way to do that is to create an intervening thought. So let's say I create a thought called hobbies. So I've got my hobbies thought, and as Shelly showed us earlier, when I find a thought that is a hobby, I'm gonna just scroll through, such as music. I can just click and drag, and music goes from being a sibling thought. In other words, it falls under the same parent as personal life, but when I click and drag, it becomes a child thought of hobbies. And I can go up and find other thoughts such as gardening, click and drag. Gardening is now falling under hobbies. And as you can imagine, if I start cleaning all this up, I pick 5 or 6 different categories. I can just have those 5 or 6 sort of intervening thoughts and go into my new thoughts from there. That's a very simple way to clean up an area of your brain. But what I'd like to share with you, now Shelly showed us creating a couple of thought types and tags and all the different thought types that she had in several of her sample brains. I'm going to show you right now how to set those up and other ways that they can become beneficial down the road. So first and foremost, there's a couple of buttons at the very top of the screen, and it's a drop-down menu for all of your existing thought types and all of your existing thought tags. The quick explanation of the difference between a thought type and a thought tag is that a thought type can only have, or a thought can only have one type associated with it. So I'm just looking at all the people that I have down below. I've got a lot of friends and a lot of family. And so Lisa, for example, is my sister. She's a family member. She's always going to be a family member. So therefore, that is her thought type, is going to be family. However, there may be different attributes. I maybe need to buy a gift for Lisa, Lisa's upcoming birthday. And so I want a tag that give it a tag that there's some important action item that needs to take place there. So I may have multiple different tags on a thought, but only one thought type associated with a thought. You'll see what I mean as I start creating them. So I'm going to click on my list of thought types, and I do not have family. So I'm going to start typing in. And notice as I type in a few letters, the list will actually show me if I already have something. So the brain will help me prevent the accidental creation of the same named thought type twice. So I'm going to say family, and I'll create another one while I'm at it, friends. And when I've created that thought type, it brings me to that thought type in the brain. No thought is connected yet to this thought type. So it looks like I just have a single item in the very center of the brain, and that is my friend's thought type. I can click to open up those thought properties once again. And friends, I'm going to select a stock icon. The brain has, in case Shelly didn't mention it, over 2,000 stock icons. So if I say people, I'll just get a nice colorful person icon there. And maybe I even want to change the background. So friends are always going to be sort of a lighter yellow text, or that's a yellow background with black text. That's fine. That shows up nicely. And I'll go back to family and click and select a stock icon. Maybe for this one, I want to search for a heart. So I've got a heart for all of my family. And I'll give this yellow text with a dark background, sort of the opposite of Friends. Friends had the yellow background with the black text. This has the black background with yellow text. Now I've created these two thought types. I'm going to go back to my list of all the items in my personal life, and I'm going to start control clicking. Now, if you're on a Mac, this is done with a command click, and we're going to be doing a lot more features here in our selection box. But anytime I control click on a thought within the brain, it is going to add itself into there's Grandpa Marty, my sister Lisa, Laura, Max, mom and dad, there's Spencer, and I think we're all set there. So I've made this selection by randomly control clicking. If I accidentally click on technology, for example, I can control click again. It's like a toggle switch on and off to add something in or take it out. There, I've simply added them to my selection box. I can right click and say, all right, these are all of my thought types, my new thought type of family. And now very quickly, I'm gonna go through again and control click on a few names. There's Brendan, Chase, Brigitte, Harlan, Jason, Shelly, Russ, Tom, I think, oh, there's Vince. And I've selected all the people. Oh, Dr. J. I can come back and select them. I can also add them later. I'll show that in just a moment. But I've added these people into my selection box with the control click. I right click and I change those thought types to friends. So these are all of my friends. Now you might think to yourself, well, great, you color coded some thoughts, you added some icons, but did that really clean things up for you? What I'm going to do is I'm going to rearrange the display of my thoughts to group similar thought types together. So this is that additional benefit that I was mentioning earlier. I right click in the background and I say arrange by, and instead of arranging thoughts just simply alphabetically, I'll say arrange by thought type. And now all of my family members are grouped together. You can see I already had a few other thought types in here. Here's all my finance information. Here are all of my friends. Get down into my health and fitness, food recipes, and so forth, my house repair items, animal items, my travel items. They're all grouped together. So if I know I'm going into personal life and saying, hey, I want to, place a call into my friend Candace. If I were to display this by thought name, Candace, she's not under C. Her last name is Muth. She's not under M. I'm still looking. Oh, but my friends, I know she's a friend. So there's yellow. And there she is, Russ and Candace. So her husband was first in the list of names. And so I can still find her that way by identifying that friend's thought type. But it's going to be even easier if I go to group all of my thought types together. I've got less kind of clutter to sift through to find the thoughts that I'm looking for. So that's one of the really, really great advantages of setting up these thought types within your brain. You can also filter searches in your reports by thought types. So once again, using Candace as an example. Of course, I can just start typing in Candace in my brain and find that information that way. But if I were running a report, so I'm going to open up my reports list and view. I've got all my person thought types. So check that. And I'm reviewing all my thoughts. So this is a fairly small brain. I've got 165 thoughts here. And I can sift through these alphabetically, but I can say, all right, show me all of my thought types that are friends. And I might have friends in other areas of my brain, not just under my personal life. I might have friends that I work with or friends that work for, colleagues that work for other companies or customers or what have you, friends at school or different areas of the same brain where I still have a person that exists that is marked as a friend thought type. I can find them all by running a report and saying, all right, throughout my entire brain, show me all my friends, and they'll appear in that list. And now that I've created these thought types, so I created them through the dropdown, I can also, let's say I go into my work and my clients. I've got VIP clients. Again, this is a test brain, so we'll just create a new VIP client, Alpha Corp. And one of the people that works at Alpha Corp is Bruce. And Bruce is now a very good friend of mine. As I'm creating the thought, I can say, all right, Bruce is going to be a friend. And if I refresh my report over on the right, you can see Bruce now shows up in that list. One more thing with regards to thought types and tags. We haven't gotten to tags yet, but regarding thought types, you can also nest and group thought types together. This is particularly useful if you do have a lot of thought types and you use them running reports. You can see I've got a thought type called person. And under person, I have a director, an executive, an expert, a manager, and so forth. It's sort of that a subcategory. I want family and friends. Those are all people as well. I want those to fall into the category of the person thought type, sort of a super thought type. So I'm going to navigate over to my friend's thought type and give it the parent thought of person. There it is. And I know it's the thought type because it has those rounded edges. So I double click. Friends now falls under the person thought type, sort of a subtype. And if I go to family, there it is in my past thought list. I'll connect that under person as well. So the advantage is a nice clean display in my dropdown. I can group together thought types of certain types. So they're all my person thought types. You can see I've got different levels of projects, hot projects, pending projects, and so forth. Over in my report, I can say, all right, show me all of my person thought types. Doesn't matter if they're family, a friend, an executive, manager, um, they're all showing up in this list. These are all the person thought types. However, if I say, all right, show me all of, oops, I didn't check it off. There it is, my person thought types. There are all of my person thought types. I've got 41. And now of that, I can say, all right, show me all of my person thought types that I have on a thought that I've modified recently. So the time frame, I've recently modified it within the past day. So 28th to 29th, these are the thoughts that I've modified recently, much less than 41, as you can see. So there's a lot that you can do there with those reports for finding data within a very, very large brain. Let's also talk really quickly about thought tags. For thought tags, I'm gonna go back to my personal life. And let's say I've got a project that I'm working on. Maybe I am gonna be doing a new rebuild of my kids' bikes. So biking, so Spencer's bike. And I'll link Spencer's bike up to Spencer, my thought for Spencer, my son. And I'm going to be working on a new build for Spencer's bike. He and I are collaborating and building a new mountain bike together. And maybe there's a sale going on at Trek right now. So therefore, I want to act very, very quickly and get all the parts that I need to start building this bike. I'm going to start using some of my thought tags. Now, you can get to thought tags by the drop-down menu up above, or once again, if we click the active thought, opens up the thought properties. And I'm going to tag this as this is an urgent action item that needs to take place. Now, I don't have this tag yet, so I'm going to type in urgent and say that this is a new tag. Now it gets the default little tag icon. If I click on urgent, I can click again to open up that thought properties display. And I don't want just a tag icon. I want to select, I really like using the target. So I type in TAR, there's target. So this is an urgent action item that I need to attend to because the sale is going to end next week and I want to take advantage of that. This is also going to be a fairly expensive project. So here comes into play where I'm using multiple tags. So it's not only urgent, it's going to be sort of a high cost item. So I'm tagging that as both urgent and high cost. And if I mouse over the tags, in case I don't remember what my target icon, I'll always remember that because I use that for all urgent action items in my brain. It's urgent and it is high cost. Let's go back into my projects and let's say under some house repair, my weekend fix-it list, it's going to be raining this weekend and I need to fix a broken gutter. So I've got some notes on fixing my broken gutter for my weekend house fix-it list. Again, big rainstorm is on its way. So this is an urgent action item because it's causing damage to my house. So tags, this is urgent. However, the piece that I need is 99 cents down the street at the hardware store. So it's a low cost item. So it's urgent and low cost. So I've applied a couple of tags to that thought. I'll be reminded of those when I come to this thought and I mouse over. Or if I sit down with my brain on, Friday morning or Saturday morning and saying, okay, what do we have going on over the weekend? I want to see all of my urgent action items here in my recreational brain. So I'm going to run a report, and first I'll just reset. So we've got our default listing, 168 thoughts in this brain. Show me all of my thought tags that are marked as urgent. Now, again, this is a test brain. I just created these thought types. So there's only 2 action items that are urgent, but I also want to see urgent action items that are, maybe I just paid off a bunch of big medical bills and I can't afford all these bike parts that I want. So I'm looking at my low cost. I got a little plus sign by low cost, plus sign by urgent action item. There's only one thought in this entire brain that fits that criteria of those having both of those thought tags, urgent and low cost. And it's my weekend fix-it list. If I wasn't already on the thought, I could click on it from here and navigate directly to this thought. So those thought types and tags are really, really great ways of adding additional context into your existing brain for running reports or just visual cues for you as you navigate through a very large brain. Now, the next item that I want to share with you is first how to really quickly delete thoughts, and then we're going to copy some of these thoughts and merge them into another brain. But first, I want to talk about deleting. It's really important that you know how to, sometimes we just need to rearrange where a thought is or rearrange, how a thought is labeled or typed or tagged. But from time to time, we just simply want to delete the thought. So let's say under personal life, under my travel section, I've got travel to Japan. Oops, and I forgot to set the thought type, so I'll just click once again and set up the thought type. That is a travel thought type. Well, I do crunch the numbers and I find that traveling to Japan is just simply not in the budget. It's not going to happen. Typically for me, I would archive research that I've done. In this scenario, I know, it's just not going to work out. I'm not going to be traveling to Japan. I don't need this thought in my brain any longer. Now, if I just right click on a thought, you'll notice that you can forget. So forgetting a thought anywhere in your brain is much like the equivalent of throwing something in your recycle bin. The thought is actually still there. It can be reactivated. But I want to share with you a nice little shortcut. I can right click on a thought while holding down the shift key. So I shift right click on travel to Japan and I go directly to deleting a thought. So the default scenario, I right click and forget a thought. I can then go to my reports, find all forgotten thoughts and clean them up and delete them that way. Or I can just shift right click and delete. So that thought is permanently deleted if I run my forgotten thought list. So I reset my reports once again and say, all right, show me all thoughts that are forgotten. I do have quite a few forgotten thoughts in this particular brain. It's a sample test brain that I monkey around with quite a bit. However, travel to Japan is not there. If I go down to alphabetically to travel, I can see travel to Japan is not listed because I permanently deleted that thought with the shift right click. So I just want to share that sort of more advanced feature there if you want to delete thoughts within a brain as you're cleaning things up. And finally, the next step is moving thoughts to a different brain. You notice in this sample brain, I also have my work information, my career goals, and other information in addition to my personal life. Well, what if I want my personal life to become its very own brain? We can certainly do that. And to do that, once again, I'm going to control click on, in this case, just the personal life thought. It adds that one thought into the selection box. And now this is where we're really getting into some more advanced features. I can click on edit and scroll down to select related thoughts. So the select related thoughts box allows you to basically manipulate or grow your selection box. I'm adding to the selection box, we'll say up to 6 generations down below personal life, so childward. And I'll say okay. And that is going to add, as you can see, 80 thoughts into my selection box. Now that they're there, I can right click and select to copy those 80 thoughts. And I'm going to go over and paste them into another brain. Before I do that, I also want to share with you that I can copy as a text outline. Let's say I want to share this, all of this information. Yeah, maybe I'm writing a book about the many adventures of myself and my personal life, and I sort of want an outline of what I've created in the brain. Okay, I've selected those thoughts, I've copied them as a text outline, and now I am going to open, of course it opened on another monitor, there it is. Nope, here it is. So I've got a little notepad. You can open up Word, whatever you'd like, but if you right click and paste, you have a tab delineated list of that content. So here you can see under personal life, biking, there's Spencer's bike. If I scroll down, I've got, here's one, technology, computers, local shops. The laptop that I like is the Rogue Asus. And if I go in my brain and go to technology, so that's gonna be over here, technology. And computers that I like, local shops where I'm looking for laptops, there's the Rogue Asus. So you can see it replicated the structure in that text outline. So that's one way that you can copy an area of your brain to share sort of an outline or an overview with another friend or colleague that doesn't use the brain. In this scenario, however, I just want to create a new brain with this content. So I right click and I copy these 80 thoughts. They're copied onto my clipboard. I create a new brain, and this is called my personal brain. Now the brain will randomly select one of the different built-in themes with a wallpaper. That's what it's done here. So it selected polygon gray, and I've created a new brain. Just a single thought in this brain, no content yet. However, if I right click and paste, I'm pasting all 80 thoughts. Now I was on the thought called laptop, so that's the thought I start out with. I can go all the way back up to technology and personal life, and then I'll connect that to my, there it is, my personal brain, and unlink laptop. Right click and unlink. So all those 80 thoughts, their file attachments, their notes, their icons, graphics, zoomable images, and so forth, everything has all been copied and pasted into another brain. So I've basically taken one master brain and sort of segmented it out, copied a section of that brain and pasted it into this new brain. Notice back in my one brain for all, I still have all of this content selected. Now the second step would be to right click and to forget or shift right click and delete this content. I like using this test brain, so I'm not going to delete that, but there's that option to forget these thoughts as well. Now, another thing that I can do is make a copy of a brain to then be merged into another brain or delivered to someone else. There, I copied it onto my clipboard. Well, what if my wife wanted a copy of my personal life info in her brain, or a copy of a project that I'm working on with another colleague? How do you, if you just get it onto your clipboard, how do you send it over to someone else? Well, that's another step, and that's called a BRZ, a brain archive file. So I've created this new brain with just my personal information in it. And let's say I want to share a copy of this with someone else. I am going to click on File, back up to Brain Archive. And there's two steps in this process. I can either allow only myself to extract this data, so sort of a security measure, or allow anyone to restore this data. I'll say allow anyone, and I notice it's going to be on my desktop, so I say back up. It backs the entire brain up into a single BRZ file. It's a brain archive. And if I know I've got a friend or a colleague that uses the brain software, I can send them this BRZ, and they will then be able to, here I'm going to click on File, and I'm going to create yet another new brain. So this is called my secondary brain. I'll say OK. Once again, it selected a random theme or wallpaper. I'm fine with that. And I'm going to click on File, and I'm going to import. So let's now talk about importing into the brain. First, I'm going to import that BRZ that I just created. So I've got BRZ selected. Once again, take note of the radio buttons. I can either create a new brain or import into my open brain, my secondary brain. I'll say select file, and I navigate out onto my, there it is, desktop, and the brain, my personal brain. So there it is. I'll open and import. So it's importing the BRZ into this existing brain. So there's personal brain, personal life, and all my child thoughts down below. So that's importing a BRZ. You can import from many different data sources. And this is really, really important to point out. If you say, gosh, I want to use the brain to visualize a database that I'm putting together. Now, we can't simply import a database. There are many different ways that databases are built, and we can't integrate with absolutely every application out there in the world. However, if you can modify your data, export your data, convert it into a properly formatted tab delineated list, maybe a file and folder structure or an Excel spreadsheet, then that information can be imported into the brain. And so
There
the
was a
first,
question, Matt, sorry to interrupt, about somebody
no, go right
asking if
ahead.
they could import from an Excel spreadsheet.
Oh, perfect. Let's just go with Excel. I love the off the cuff. Here I've got my woodworking area, and I know I've got a file in my maps of wood research. There it is. So I'll double click, open this up. Now, this is what a properly formatted Excel spreadsheet would look like. So you would need to get your data into this type of format. Notice every column, it starts off with wood species qualification. So I'm looking at using different wood for building furniture and projects. And I've got two different categories: hardwoods, so that's one column over, and down below there are all these different types of softwoods. One column over again, oak, cherry, walnut, and so forth. Now, pay special attention here. I'm using a few special characters. A dash is going to create a note. The asterisk is going to create a bulleted list. The plus sign is going to create a web attachment. And the pipe symbol even that you see between fumes well, fuming is a way of staining wood using just fumes from ammonia. It's very dangerous, as you can see, but a lot of old furniture makers used to use it. Very interesting stuff. Great. I've done all this research in another source, an Excel spreadsheet or a database, what have you. I've got it into a properly formatted document, and I'm just going to select all of these cells and copy those onto my clipboard. And over in the brain, I simply right click under the desired thought. It's going to become a child of the current active thought. And I'm going to select paste text outline. The brain recognizes I've got some properly formatted data on my clipboard, and I can paste that as a child thought. So there you can see wood species, hardwoods, softwoods. Let's go down into that oak area. So I've got red oak and white oak. And here's the information on fuming white oak for furniture building, my bulleted list, my file attachment. So I can generate and populate areas of a brain very, very quickly using some of the import capabilities. I'm running really low on time today, so if the question comes up, I can share a few more different imports with you, but file and folder directories can be imported, other brains through the BRZ, and properly formatted tabs, tab delineated lists, and Excel spreadsheets. Excuse me, I'm getting tongue-tied as well.
No, that's
And
awesome. Thanks, Matt. That was really good.
sure.
Definitely answered the question.
Awesome. And then with that, I just want to share with you really quickly, whoops, let me get back to my list. Selecting thoughts, copying and pasting. We've got merging two brains together. Segmenting brains, that was the other item on my list. I'll go ahead and see if I still have, I don't have this on my clipboard yet, but let's say I just want to move my different goals. Oh, I don't have much stuff in this particular area, but let me just generate 1, 2, 3, or using that semicolon trick, I populated a little bit more of this particular brain. And let's say I'm moving my goals information into a separate brain somewhere else. I'm going to control click on goals. I'm going to hold down my control key and select, click and drag to select thoughts, adding them into the selection box. And now I am going to right click in the background or over in this selection box, however. And let's say I've already copied those into another brain. Now it's time to forget those thoughts. If I would have held down the shift key, I'll go ahead and do it. Shift, right click, I'll go straight to delete. So you can not only add things to the selection box to quickly change their thought type, quickly change the thought tag associated with them. You can also copy them into other brains, and finally you can absolutely delete them. So I'm going to select to delete those thoughts. Those thoughts are permanently deleted from my brain. So that's just another way of cleaning house is like I said earlier, deleting things thought by thought, or mass selecting a group of thoughts and permanently deleting them. If you are going to be using that feature, permanently deleting a large group of thoughts that you think you no longer need, I always recommend that the first thing you do is click on File, Backup to Brain Archive. Why not have a backup of that brain just in case you added something into the selection box that you realize at a later date, ooh, I actually needed that content, and now it's gone from my brain. You can always roll back to a BRZ, a brain archive, and recover that data. So those are some of the advanced features, Shelly, that I wanted to share today. And I see that we're coming up right at the end of the webinar. I've taken up a lot of time here. So let's see if there's any other questions that are out there today
All right. No, it was all great stuff. And a lot of it
great.
actually, especially the end point, covered a lot of what we were discussing in the Q&A. So that's great. So yeah, we're going to jump into Q&A. For those of you who do have to run on the hour, which would be in 3 minutes, we are recording this session. You will automatically be emailed the recording because you signed up. It'll also be posted on our homepage if tomorrow or the day after. And we're going to continue another 10 minutes into overtime just to cover some of these questions. And actually, the first question that came in from John, you kind of addressed it with segmenting. But John's question, because we're talking about bold choices, I don't normally love what John's suggesting we do, but I'm gonna read the question. We can chat a little bit about it. He says, "My biggest concern with using the brain is after my thoughts, the plex gets complicated. I tried to solve it by creating parentless thoughts, but they do not normally show in the plex. I would like to have multiple separate parents with children that I can separate thoughts into to be seen by themselves. Please advise." So first of all, my 2 cents is I'm not in love with that, but I actually know users. I think Jay and a couple people do that. I would advise
Yeah.
if you do that, totally separate, you create a pins. You can always find it in the search, but let's say so Matt can show that. And then secondly, usually if you want things that separate, you might want to think about then just having a separate brain because you can have multiple tabs with the brain 11 and 12. So if you really want things separate and you find like your brain is getting overwhelming, yes, the great thing about our software is one brain for everything. You can literally have thousands and millions of connections, but at the same time, sometimes you just want a home renovation brain or a brain on, a particular hobby, and that's fine too. So just keep in mind for those of you that have these ginormous brains, if it does get overwhelming, a lot of these uh, tips we've shown today,
Yeah.
thought typing, tagging, reorganization can do wonders. But that being said, if you want to have a few satellite brains, that's perfectly fine. And now, against
Yes.
what I don't love, I think we can let's show how to create parentless sections and pins in a
It's
brain because
sure.
that is a
It's
bold
simply a
choice,
matter
and our
of
topic is bold
unlinking.
choices.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
this is the scenario that
So
he's
here we go
describing. You've got your personal life and what's
down the
most
rabbit
important, my
hole.
family, my friends, my health and fitness, restaurants and so forth. And then I've got other hobbies that I'm interested in. Well, maybe this is that area where you're like, yeah, I don't always want to see my other hobbies. I've grouped them all together under a thought called other hobbies, but it's still linked up under personal life. So yes, I could right click and unlink from personal life. So now when I go back to that personal life, other hobbies isn't there. This is what Shelley is referring to as sort of a satellite. It's a cluster, a group of thoughts that's not connected. It's still part of the same brain, but it's not connected in any way back to my personal life. It might be, I might have biking. Oh, I bet it is, because under biking, I've got links or dispenser, and he links back up to family. So there's other secondary and tertiary, links down in this area of the brain that link it back, but other hobbies is not, no longer falls under the parent thought of personal life. So I like Shelley's suggestion. I would right click and create a pin. So I've got a series of pins to different clusters or satellites within my brain. But also keep in mind, you can always, so let me go back to personal hobbies. If I didn't see it right there, other hobbies in the past thought list or as a pin, it'd be hard to find that area without searching. However, I can run a report. And once again, I'm just going to reset to my default report of all thought types. But I'm going to say, all right, show me my parentless thoughts. So there's forgotten thoughts. There's orphan thoughts, just a single thought all by itself. But then there's also parentless thoughts, meaning nothing is linked up above them. There's other hobbies right there. So I can click and go to that other hobbies thought. That's an option for you. I think in the same grouping as Shelley, I'm not a huge fan of it because I might lose track of some information if it's not linked in some way. I like the link being there under my personal life, but that is a personal choice, and that's a bold idea. So
Yeah.
go ahead and try to create, sort of those satellite areas. You can always get back to them by running a report for parentless thoughts. You'll always be
I
able to
know
find that.
that Mark Trexler, on the climate change,
Oh
Dr.
yeah,
Mark,
that's right.
loves to do that, keep kind of rogue areas
Yeah,
separate. So I mean,
and
it can be
yeah,
very cool. It totally depends on your brain, and
yeah.
this
What
is it's a good question.
Yeah, what Mark will do is he'll actually copy this particular thought. I'm actually going to select, copy other hobbies, and then it can go to personal life. And in the notes, other areas of, and I can link to all those satellite groupings. Let's say I've got a satellite
That's
grouping
right. So
for
that's the
space
other way to,
hopping stars.
that's
Yeah.
cool. Right. So
So
if
I
you
can,
do the satellite groupings, you can put
yeah,
them in the notes area, which is
keep track of
an
them in a
an
note.
alternative
Sure.
way of doing. And that's with all the new cool features with backlinks, that's even going to be better in
Yeah.
12. So
Yeah.
that's also really interesting. Okay, good stuff. And then I want to get to Forbes' question. He asked, do you have a brain example of how a manager online of an online community could utilize a brain for managing members and content development? So that's essentially expertise locations. I don't know if you have or you're able to throw up our eSolutions example. It just
Yes.
shows manager connected, because that's a good example of a expertise location and utilizing jumps.
Yeah.
So we do a lot of brains for companies, Forbes, where they have, whether it's for content management or whatever, you have the person, the position, and links to their area of expertise. So I guess we could spend just a few minutes looking at that structure to give Forbes and anyone else who's trying to map out people and their expertise some ideas.
Sure. And this again is another sample brain. I do this in my own real brains, but I don't demo those because I use my brain like a Rolodex. Everyone's
Yeah.
phone number, email, Twitter feed, Instagram, everything. It's all there in the notes. And then all of the different hobbies that we share, projects that we're working on together, customers that they are managing or reporting to or what have you, is all mapped out visually in the brain. And so this is a sample of that same type of structure. And here you can see I'm working with a company called Instant Dynamics. All the different active projects that are going on with this company are linked down below. I've got their service logs and legal documents. Over on the left are the two people in my company that are working on this account. So Joe Smith just simply works as an advisor. And as you can see, Fred Baxter is the account lead. And if I click on Fred's thought, There's all my contact information for Fred. And I've got a visualization of an org chart. If I have a question regarding instant dynamics, Fred is the account lead. He's going to have the answer. If he's not available, I can speak to another account manager or someone else in his department. I can also see that Fred is a busy guy. He's working on a rebuild for a bug database, and he's writing our new winning edge presentation for new and upcoming clients. So all the different projects that people are working on, I like having them linked as jump thoughts, and then the people that report to them are linked as child thoughts down below. So I can really understand, how they fit into, the puzzle of my organization.
Yeah, and that
And we,
particular brain is done
mhm,
that way because that you want to see the reporting structure. So
yeah,
the HR hierarchy is represented as parent-child. The projects are to the side. Now, I could foresee another example. If you're managing your team, you might want to have the person and all their projects below as child thoughts. So to some extent, these categories are there are a few good ways to do it, but they're somewhat subjective. So you can
sure,
you can
yeah,
play with that. But I do
yeah.
like seeing this one as an example of the jump and parent working together.
Yeah, and as Shelly and I showed you, clicking on the active thought always opens up the thought properties display. You can also alt click on any thought in the brain, opens up the thought properties display where you change the icon, the colors, rename the thought, what have you. You can also double click on a link, as you see I've done here. It opens up the link properties display where you can apply a label to the thought, what the relationship is between two thoughts, color code it, play around with directionality. This person is responsible for that project and so forth. So those are some more advanced features of link properties as well.
And actually, this is a good brain to address Scott's question. Scott asks, I'll go look for an outline view tutorial. It works differently than I expect. It's a little bit, he's not quite sure how to use outline view. So maybe we can show outline view in this particular brain.
Sure, I am going to, the brain is set up into two main panes. We've got the plex over on the left and the content area. There's some buttons that separate the two, and I'm going to click on one to minimize my notes and content. I'm full screen. I'll go full screen here with the plex. So the default view is the current active thought and one generation away from that active thought. I can expand that a bit. I can click on the plus tab up above. I'm viewing two generations away from the active thought. And a pro licensed user has the option of viewing their brain in outline or mind map view. So outline, you get this nice sort of linear display of all of the information. But notice when I hover over a thought, I get either a plus tab or a little minus tab, and it's expand and collapse. So do I want to see all of my thoughts by industry? Yes. Who are my media and entertainment clients? There they are. If I want a Brown Dog Entertainment, expand that. Oh, I don't have much on that client yet. I'll click the collapse button. So you can see you can really customize and manipulate the display of sort of the big picture overview of how all of your information fits together. And I can even resize this so I can fit it all on the screen. Really depends a lot on your screen real estate, but really great for brainstorming and sort of stepping back and taking a look at the overview of a brain structure for a project that you're working on, or just the brain that you've mapped in general. I can continue clicking on the plus tab up here and really expand this brain until I'm viewing every single thought in the entire brain. That's certainly an option for you.
Nice. And Rex has a question. Can I have a thought linked to another brain where I go to the thought and hit the link and would open another brain?
You certainly can. So here I am in this sample brain that I'm sharing with you. I've got some great information about all of my clients in this brain. I'm going to right click on this thought and select to copy the local thought URL. Now I'm going to go back into my one brain for all and go into my work. And remember, I created this clients area earlier, but I don't have much. Let's say those are all of my old clients.
And I like it on the light blue color. Actually, we need to cover wallpaper and backgrounds too. One last thing, bold
Absolutely.
choices.
I'm going to right click in the background and select paste web link. So the web link is a direct link
Nice.
to the local version of this particular brain. And what happens when you click on it? Well, the brain follows its rule for any attachment. It's going to open its attachment in its native application. So I click to launch, and it sends me, if this brain tab wasn't already open, it would open it for me and takes me directly to that particular thought. So that's how we link from one brain to another. Um, and then the last option was wallpaper. So let's go ahead and, I've got this really basic wallpaper here. You can right click on the background and go into your brain theme. And the brain theme is where you can select from one of the other brain themes that is built into the brain application to see if you can find something that works for you. Notice I've got some of my own. If I go into Geyser or Seafoam, these are some of my own personal sort of designs that I've set up. So you can customize, set up your own color codes, or if I go into options, there's the selection for the wallpaper. And today's webinar is all about making bold choices. So I'm going to go into my C drive. This is where I keep all my fun wallpapers. And I'm Blue Future. That sounds interesting.
All right,
And
there we go.
there we go. So I've created just a new wallpaper. And you can play around with this a lot. Sometimes you might think something looks a little too busy. If I had some blue links here, so if I customize my links, if my links were just a blue in the background, well, it kind of blends in with the wallpaper. That doesn't work. So I'll just make them really bright and say okay. And I can see all the links between thoughts, and I might play around with this just a little bit more, change the wallpaper again in the future. I change my wallpaper often. For those of you that ever join me for a Brain 101, I've got summer wallpapers, autumn wallpapers, winter wallpapers. I get caught up in the sort of the theme of the season, so I change my wallpapers around. Just reflect my own mood and personality quite frequently in the different brains. And they not only help you to sort of reflect the subject matter of that brain. If you ever create more than one brain, it's really great in that you can get a nice simple visual of which brain you happen to be in at any time. It captures that wallpaper and uses it for the brain thumbnail in your list of all available brains. So there's no guesswork here. If I have all these brains with the same blue background, that would get pretty boring pretty quickly. I want to get into my humans in space brain that's been shared with me. I see the space wallpaper there and on the thumbnail, and I'll never be mistaken as to which brain I happen to be in when I, just by looking at the background.
Right, and we're under so much stress these days. I just love sometimes a humorous or a very interesting wallpaper just to reset my brain, and I'll just literally open my brain. I've got my nice look at it and be like, aha, okay, you've got this. So that's another topic, getting things done, mental clarity, but we all know our brain is very important for that. So pick a wall, it could be a sunset, whatever it is, a picture of someone climbing a mountain. You get it behind there, you look at your information, and it helps. It helps you get things done and you get through the day. So highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. And then we are on the edge here, so we are going to have to wrap things up. A lot of people asking if this will be recorded. Yes, you will get the recording. Also, I want to make sure for those of you that maybe we've gone too fast or you need to step back a little, join Matt this Friday for the Brain 101. We're going to cover more basics, more ground up building, and by the way, advanced users are welcome to join and throw in questions towards the end of the class as well. So that's a resource for everybody. There was one question that Joseph asked about how you attach the text directly to the link. Chase did answer, but I thought that was an interesting question.
Attach text directly to the link.
I
Just
think they mean the link label. Yeah.
yeah, double click on a link between two
Mm-hmm.
thoughts, and then let's say I really love working with red oak. I don't, so I'm not going to select that. I really love working with walnut, so I'm going to double click on the link between hardwoods and walnut, and I'm just going to label that as a favorite. And I really like to change color code the links as well. Sort of typically with me, I always say green means go, red means stop. So I'll give this a green link and say that that's one of my favorites. And there, when I'm on hardwoods, when I'm doing my research in the future, I will be reminded that, you know, working with walnut is one of my favorite woods to work with.
Nice.
Woodworking, yeah.
And I like the railroad going into the distance there. So very nice.
Great.
And I think with that, we're going to close today's session. Matt, any final words of wisdom before we end our 202 class? And thanks to all of you who are still on chatting away. You know, we're 15, 16 minutes off the hour.
Well, I like, Shelley, that you shared, you know, the Brain 101.
Yeah.
You know, I have people join the Brain 101s that have joined multiple times in the past, but they just simply have new questions about version 11 and version 12. Some of you may have noticed that Shelley and I today were demoing in the Brain 12. So they want to just jump in at the end of the call just to ask some new questions about a new feature they discovered, or, you know, how something works, or um, uh, what have you. So feel free to join a Brain 101 in the future. They're pretty much every Friday, and we're always happy to answer additional questions there. However, if you can't make a 101 and you didn't get your question answered today, we'll try to follow up with all the different questions that came in. You can also write into us at any time,
Yeah.
support@thebrain.com. Feel
And
free
then
to
it
do
also came up earlier. We do have a lot of the editing questions we have some great video tutorials
so.
under on our website as well. That we actually linked to a few of them in our follow-up email, but a lot of this we also have online in our tutorials. So with that, I think we're going to end today's session on bold choices and evolving thought structures. And I wish you all well in evolving your thoughts and ideas. And hopefully today you've been inspired to make some bold choices and evolve your brains further. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.